So I want to touch upon this, if ever briefly, since I haven't really seen anyone share my sentiments on this, at least not in video format. Let me preface by saying that I do like using Crunchyroll as a whole. I think that while they do have a lot of issues, mostly in terms of their rather lackluster video player and their sometimes questionable subbing choices, I still enjoy using their service. It's affordable, I like watching anime on my TV, Crunchyroll Movie Night gives me an excuse to leave the house, and I even enjoy their silly little YouTube channel, especially Anime by the Numbers, which I find to be quite humorous. But with all of that in mind, I think that there's a major issue with Crunchyroll's service that needs to be addressed. Many have discussed the problems where they only get a very small percentage of the shows that people in, say, America get, and how that ends up leading to piracy. But one of my major issues is that, even living in America, we still don't get all the shows. Now, what do I mean by this? My go-to example for this is Ashita no Joe, a classic, beloved anime. It gets referenced all the time in many different shows, and it's considered a must-watch by many anime critics. Guess what though? Crunchyroll only has Season 2 of Ashita no Joe. And I think the problem with something like this is that it pretty much encourages people to pirate anime, because they aren't going to watch Season 2 on Crunchyroll if they haven't seen 79 episodes of the first season. If these people, say, turn to Piracy for Season 1, they might like that illegal streaming site enough to not even bother going back to Crunchyroll for Season 2. So in that case, I think there's a particular danger to including the sequel but not the first show. It's not even like back in the day where people would watch sequels first or just watch incomplete versions of shows and be none the wiser. People have access to this information and they will bother searching for it. Take for example the 2004 TV series of Blackjack. You can find the first 28 episodes on Crunchyroll, but the show is 61 episodes long. The comments on the 28th episode show that people are aware there's more to the series that Crunchyroll hasn't subtitled, and also that this same audience is interested in completing the show. Now, I understand that sometimes this is just not possible. An unfortunate example of this is the show Zatch Bell, where only the first 104 episodes were dubbed, so if anyone wants to watch the rest of the show, they're going to have to do so both subbed and illegally. I understand that obviously a show that hasn't been dubbed in like 8 years isn't going to get finished. However, I wish that a completed subbed version was possible, much like how Part 2 of the Lupin the Third series only had the first 80 episodes dubbed, yet there's still a subbed version of the series available on Crunchyroll, complete with all 155 episodes. I don't think examples like these are necessarily the fault of Crunchyroll. I'm sure that if it was up to them, they'd want to have every episode of these shows. And it's very obvious with stuff like Conqueror of Shambhala being on there but the 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist series not being on there, that it's the fault of licensors. Or if you want an even more recent example of this, you have the new Monster Hunter series. They subbed 48 episodes of that, but due to licensing issues, they couldn't continue the simulcast onto this season. I just wish that the licensors would understand what they're licensing and try to make it more convenient for the consumer. Because if a show's incomplete, then a lot of people aren't just going to watch what's legally available to them. A lot of people are going to want closure, and they'll do so even if it means giving illegal sites traffic. We can't really expect these same people who commented on Blackjack's 28th episode back in 2012 or 2013 to have not finished the series by now, or at the very least, to not have gone past episode 28. We can't expect all the people watching the Detective Conan simulcasts to not have pirated in some form to get through all of the 500 or so episodes that never got licensed. One may argue that most of the shows I'm mentioning right now aren't terribly popular, and that they're probably not worth the amount of time and money that it would take to get them subbed onto Crunchyroll. However, I would disagree in the case of Detective Conan. It's a show that's currently simulcasting, and I think even more people would be inclined to watch the show if Crunchyroll was streaming all the episodes. I know I'd watch it. It wouldn't even take much work to get the first 123 episodes on there. considering the first 5 seasons were licensed by Funimation, and of course, now Crunchyroll is partnered with Funimation. Some may also argue that what I'm saying is just a sign of entitlement, and that back in the day, a lot of shows never finished being licensed. Geneon, for example, only licensed the first 26 episodes of Beautiful Joe, and the other 26 weren't ever even subbed. The 1999 series of Hunter x Hunter was all subbed and dubbed by Viz Media, but the OVAs that continued the series never got licensed. That being said, I think that with any industry, it should be about progression, and trying to make things better than they were before. Things are definitely more convenient than they've ever been, and I'm really grateful for that fact. However, I believe there's always room for improvement, and with piracy being even easier than it was 10 or 15 years ago, that raises the incentive to have complete versions of all the shows being streamed. Now, as I've said before, I understand that doing this may take some time and take some money. Obviously, they're not using some Google Translate auto feature here. People have to actually watch through the episodes and translate each line. And I'm not saying this needs to happen right away. However, I think it's something worth considering for the near future, considering Crunchyroll is very much bent on trying to combat illegal streaming. It would also introduce these shows to a wider audience who perhaps may have been interested in it, but didn't want to watch an incomplete series. They may not be able to do this for every show, understandably. However, I still think it's worth getting my voice out there and speaking up about this issue, as well as just bringing this to the attention of people who may have not been aware of it. So thank you for watching. As always, if you liked this video, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, all the good stuff. Follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up with me, and add me on my anime list if you want to keep up with what I'm watching. Discord link is also in the description if you just want to chat. And as always, I'll catch you later.